So in from part one, knowing what we know from the breath in and out, creating that torque field, and then the heart beat in rhythm, expanding it out. And we can be asleep and just follow our heart and be reactive and impulsive and do whatever it is and follow our heart. Or we can enlighten and go through that Kundalini awakening experience, fire up and unite the Ida and Pingala, and open the higher mind through the heart once we open, through various practices. Okay, so when we combined those two worlds, the mirrors of breathing out and breathing in, from the one to the many, we do this by expanding through our heart, and whatever frequency we create the space, and we can attract. So the more we expand, the higher we go. And so from there, artificial intelligence, AI, will never, it can, it will, and it can, and it has. We can go back to 1990, in the 90s. In the 90s, a lot of things started, a lot of reawakening from people and their environment, and they weren't really, this is how we end up with certain diseases, and we don't understand why, because we're not really ready, but we're just the first ones to open up and do the experiments. One of those being the testosterone, the hormones, and what happens is, my father had this happen to him, and he wasn't able to grow hair. That's okay, that's fine. He was more evolved, like, in a sense, but not, because it was more of a hybridization that they were doing back in the 1940s that they started. And when you kind of mix things in a cloning kind of way, they cannot reproduce. Something happens. You can inject people through immunizations and things like that, and some people have the placebo, others have the actual, thing, and we become like experiments, and we don't know who is who, but through numbers. And so we end up with these things, and they're called diseases, and we're not sure what these viruses and all these things, right? It's a way of evolution, our evolution, how we evolve. Eventually we evolve, our blood types change, and all these things, our hormones, and it's true. And so our environment is the reflection, and the reflection also can be that agitation, most of the time the extreme agitation that causes it, because we don't know how to adapt to it from that sense. And so we're not aware of these things, and all of a sudden we're going through these changes, and we're evolving, and we're like, oh, doctor, I don't have testosterone, or something's wrong with me. No, you're entering godhood, and you don't even know it, but it's a different kind of godhood. It says in the 1990s, it's happening to my father. He was, and so he was going through all these changes, and he wasn't able to handle it because he didn't even have that Kundalini experience or whatever it was. It wasn't the time for that kind of awakening and evolution until after. So what happened was people like that would end up having to get these synthetic, man-made testosterone when he didn't even need it, and that kind of, because it was still in the experimental stages, caused him to get other ailments and things things happening to him, and he ended up dying at a young age because of all that's happened to him. So I had to experience these things, and at the time, let's go now to 98, somewhere around that. I was taking, night classes to try and make up so that I can go to Humber College and become a funeral director and all these things. And I ended up taking humanities. Now we're going on 5 minutes. I'm trying to make it deep and short and fast, like people pleasing, right? No, I want to like get across to you, everybody, what is really in fact going on from my experience and what I've been through, and others that are loved ones that have passed on. And so what happened was, in the 90s, there was a lot of experiments going on, actually. And one of them was, with epigenetics and genetics, of course, to do with genetics. And they were getting into cloning and Dolly and everything. Before that, I was taking humanities. I went to school, and there was a particular, very inspiring, I'll never forget it in my mind, film that the public library and whatever happened, they got rid of it. And it was to do with taking somebody's cell that we don't need sperm, basically, to procreate. Sperm is not necessary. And that just blew me right away. And like, I'm in humanities taking this in college, and they're showing us what they're doing. But in actual fact, cloning is not at the stages that it was supposed to be. It was just, cloning is meant for artificial intelligence to combine with it. Because cloning is a part of you, let's say, and it's a part of your soul, and it doesn't really live as long because it's not a soul unto its own, like a life force. So they started taking that as, we're going to harvest and do body parts. But that was kind of inhumane, so they started doing it through people who are giving permission, like they do with the Trillium, donating your body parts once you're dead. But this is where it was going, and that was like not ready for the scene of our evolution. And so what happened was they were saying doing it with animals. So that's not going to happen. So right away, Dolly, the sheep, and they were experimenting on that. It doesn't really work. But how it does work is when 2 women or 2 men or something like that, they want to get together. You can be very creative about it, right? But you do not need sperm. And the thing here is I cannot just take a piece of me and clone myself and expect it to actually be a really healthy baby without the intervention or mixing in, hybridizing artificial intelligence with it. Okay? However, the healthiest baby you can have is by mixing races, which we kind of are racist to begin with in our society, and we have an issue, and then we're expecting aliens and accepting them, and there's a lot of fear, especially if somebody is like really black or really Asian or really, actually there's still people scared, they're scared of each other. But this is what makes a baby stronger, is when you mix the diversity, right? When you mix that, that's why diversity is very rich. And the baby lives longer. And it depends on the age. If somebody's already decaying and aging and not regenerating enough. So, the containment doesn't matter either in today's world, because they're going to start doing it artificially where you don't even need a third party like a mother or somebody to keep it in. The baby. An incubation period that's 9 months. And eventually that's not even going to be necessary either, the 9 months. But this is where we're heading. And what I was getting at is that cloning is only good when you mix it with artificial intelligence and the robotic and all these synthetic, just similar to like somebody having their arm cut off and getting like a synthetic arm put in, like that. that you can integrate with the soul and somehow. But know this, the robots do not breathe. They do not have a heart. So that can be mixed. That's the only way that cloning can really be manipulated into that kind of situation where, you only have so much to live, you want to recycle your body, but then there's an issue here that you can be trapped within this machine and not be able to release your soul. So we have to get these rules in place so that we're able to, rules and regulations and whatever the man follows. Especially when you're going into artificial robotic and you have to tell them what to do. And so, that said, cloning is for that. That's why we stopped. And the fact that man is so fearful and scared of their extinction. They go around, do everything, put the blame on everybody, and their women will really support them on this. I'm not saying that every man is like this. It's not man. It's not even man. It's not even a gender thing. It's whatever that is. Let's call it an alien. Is destroying, and we got to keep moving, but we got to respect the earth and the environment that we need to breathe and be human too, right? And so this thing called sperm is not necessary. And yet we have all these sperm banks and we pay men and we value them so much, one gender over the other, in a way that their testosterone is so, important, and because of it, you get paid more to work in the workforce, and you're just valued, all around valued more. Know this, everyone, testosterone is of the old world, and it's still dragging its feet, trying to stay, and to the point where it's being synthetically modified and given to people who want sex changes. Anyway, enough said with that. But the ultimate, even with the transgender, and we're going into transhumanism now, is to have that balance, the wholeness of both. But then when you bring the artificial intelligence, that's kind of a split in worlds. It's okay. One day maybe we can bring the three worlds into one, but for now it's just like, okay, I don't know. All I know is that this assisted thing for procreation, you can't, men, don't get all weirded out and think you're going to become extinct unless you create that reality for yourselves, okay? Don't freak out if you lose testosterone and all of a sudden you're not having as much hair and all these things. Don't freak out about all those things. It's all good. Just go with it, okay? And know this, that a man and a man can have a baby. A woman and a woman can have a baby, and they can have it. Okay, I take a sample of my uterus and the egg and put it together. But then the issue is, if the egg is more valuable and the sperm is not valuable at all, then we're screwed, because we're living in a backwards, old-ass world. Which means that, we're going to a matriarchal, even if people say, no, it can't be, it has to be both, it has to be a combination of both. It's going to be a matriarchal world. However, a matriarchal world will not be excluding. It will embrace and welcome every gender, every race. Okay, inclusive. It's not going to be like, I know, it's right now, it's the programs that say, a man might say, I'm not like that, or women might say, and there's a lot of women out there who are like, not nasty, but programmed in a way that, let's call them soldiers. Patriarchal, ego-driven. I don't know what you want to call it, but that's what I see it as, in my opinion. And so maybe I can just hone in on one topic at a time, because we've gone to 15 minutes. And I hope I kind of made a little bit of enlightening and transparency to what has been going on since the 90s and where we're heading and where we are right now. And so this value system is the way it is because it's on its last legs and we're moving on. And the intervention, that fear that man has, well, he's recreated everything. Everything has been recreated. And now we're going to be dealing with it in that artificial, intelligent way. So let's keep moving on, and let's keep embracing, and let's not reject or whatever. This is something that we must embrace and move forward and stay in the now, and love on one another, and let's keep going, and do not fear everything that's going on. I'm very curious, and so things have really touched me on a very intimate level, seeing that I really don't have a family or friends or anything like that. So to me, I'm more affected, I guess, in that sense, that I'm able to see these things that I can help all you in seeing it in the way that, your programs might not allow. Thank you much, love and light, and stay open.